Okay, welcome to tutorial number 5 on line work. We're just going to talk mostly this time about some line properties and line types. And we'll have another tutorial about how to change and edit and create line types. But for this one, we're just going to look at some line properties. And so let's create a line. And to look at the properties of that line, you can double click and this properties box will come up. I also think that if you have your settings on your computer, your right click settings come up, then you can select properties from here too. Notice that if you use a polyline and you double click on it, the properties window does not come up. Instead, you get this polyline edit, p-edit command down here at the bottom. But you can still look at the properties of that line by right-clicking and selecting properties, or by clicking over here on this tool palette properties, and then it comes up as a polyline. And now I've hit escape and I don't have any objects selected, and you can see in my properties dialog box says no selection. I can select both items, and then there are two things, and I can either look at the line or I can look at the polyline. So let's look at the line, and we're going to look at some of the general properties. First, here you can change the color of that line, which we've talked about before. So you can change the color of the line. And note that when we talk about plotting, these line colors are important not because of how pretty it looks, but at how thick those lines will print. So in your plot settings, you can assign red to be a very thick line, whereas white is a very thin line. So so when you change the color of a line to red, you know it's going to print a thicker, it's going to have a heavier thickness than something that's magenta or white. Okay? And this by layer is the color that is assigned to the layer. And again, we haven't talked about layers yet, but we will and very soon. So, and then here it's asking for what layer. And right now we're on layer 0. So that's fine for now. It asks what line type you want it to be. And it's saying by layer, so we've drawn it on this layer, and that's what the layer is saying, that it's going to be a continuous line. No dashes, no breaks, it's a continuous line. That is what is assigned to layer 0. And so that is a continuous line. When I choose continuous, it doesn't change. There's also a layer called center. And if you want to look here, I'm going to hit escape and zoom in really close. And so now there are these dashes in that line. You can change it to center 2, which actually it makes it, I believe, closer together. Center, wait, let's select it first. That might help. Now let's change it to center 2. Okay, so now you can see that it's made the little dashes appear more often. Okay, so it's almost changed the scale of it. You can change it to dashed, and now it's just a dashed line, or dot, so it's a dotted line. Fence line 2, so it's a line with squares on it to make it look like a fence line. You can call it a hidden line, which is a lot like a dashed line. Or there's one called phantom. And now this one has more spaces. The center line type only has 2 spaces here. And then on phantom you have 3 spaces. I believe that's all they have loaded in here. But do not be deceived. There are lots more line types that you can use out there. And in just a minute we'll talk about loading them, and in the next tutorial we'll talk about creating them. So let's pick Phantom, and you notice that when I'm zoomed out all the way, you can't tell that that's a Phantom line type by looking at it. So that has everything to do with the scale. And right now the scale is 1. So let's change the scale to 100. And you can tell now that's a lot better. Now I can see that that line has a different, it has dashes and spaces in it. Okay, so we talked a little bit about line weight when it's associated with the layer or the color, but here you can change the line weight manually. And so you could change it to 2. The thing about changing it here is you can't see that it's actually different. It just prints different. So it won't show up differently, it just prints differently. So let's go back to by layer. So you can choose, like, if you have a layer, a certain layer, and then all the lines on that layer will be one specific line weight. You can also change the transparency. I've never used that, so I don't really know what it is. You can change the thickness here. So you can make it 10. Make it a thickness. And again, it doesn't really do anything on the screen here. So I'm just going to put that back to 0. And then also you can see the star X and Y values of the line. But I really wanted to talk about these general properties of the line. Now let's look at the line, polyline. Again, same thing. You can change the color, the line type, line weight, everything here. But something is a little bit different for a polyline, like I showed you just a moment ago, that when you double click on it, you get these additional p-edit commands, polyline edit commands, that you can change it. And one of those things is the width. So type W. If you notice again, I'll try to explain it again. If the letter C is capitalized, then you type C, and it'll close the polyline. You type J, you'll join them, and so on. So whatever is capitalized, to choose that option in the command line, you type that letter. So we want to change the width of that line, so we hit W. And now it says specify the new width for all segments, so let's type 10. And now it actually appears wider on the screen. So that's something a little different that you can do with a polyline. You can't do with a regular line. While we're here, I'll just go ahead and talk. You can also do spline. So type S, enter, and it makes it curvy. Okay? So that's one thing you can do to undo. Polylines also go in a specific direction. So if I started drawing from here and went here, 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 that line's actually moving in a direction. We can type R to reverse that direction. Let's see. Pretty much that's it right now. Oh, to escape that. So say we start a new polyline at the end point of that line. Okay. Sorry. When I select it, it's different than this one. But say we wanted them to be joined together. So let's do double click and we say J for join. And so it's asking select objects that you want to join. So you select both objects, right click, and it says 4 segments added to polyline. So hit escape. Now I click on it and it's all joined together. So okay, now to finish talking about lines, we're going to talk about line type, and you can change, like I showed, that you can change that line type here, but there are other line types that we may want to use that are not listed here. So where do you get them? This is how you do it. You type L type at the command line. L type for line type, and your line type manager will come up. And it shows you all the line types that you currently have loaded into your line type manager. And so we want to add some. So you simply go up here to load. And it is referencing a file called acad.lin. And in that line, or that acad.lin file, there are all of these line types. And so you can bring all of them in if you want. You can select all of them and say OK. And it says one or more selected line types will be reloaded. What do you want to do? Just all of them. Let's reload all of them. That's fine. Okay, so now you have loaded all of these line types. You hit OK. So let's select this one. Let's go back to line type. And now I have many more line types to choose from. Okay, so now I can pick this gas line. And now this line type has text on it. We want to see it a little better. We can change the scale 200. And now it's bigger, and you can see it's a gas line. So now you have all these other ones loaded. Let's go back into the line type manager and go to load. You can also select different files, and it automatically comes up to the location of where these files are stored. And so you might want to write that down. It's going to be different on different versions or different computer systems, because I'm running Windows 7. This is where I put mine. But it'll say users, owner, app data roaming, August, crazy place, support. And this is where it's located, acad.lin file. And then there are two others, and this one is AECC LAN. So let's look at that. Let's open it and see. Now it shows you all the lines that are in this file. And the thing I don't like about this is in its description, it's just a word description. It does not show you what it looks like. But let's say we want to load all of them anyway. So we select them, say OK. So now they are also in here. Now it's saying chain link fence with spaces, chain link with fence without spaces, guardrail posts on left, guardrail posts on right. But now it's showing you the appearance here on this side here. Stockade fence without, stockade fence with. So now you have all of these. In the next tutorial, I'm going to actually show you how to create these AutoCAD line types so that you can make your own. Because if you've noticed, and if you're familiar with plats and drawings at all, there are some very important ones, in my opinion, that do not exist in the ones that come with the software. So we need to create a couple, and it's important for you to know how to do that. And you may never remember it, but you can always come back here and find it again. So, so that's it for this tutorial. And like I said, in the next tutorial, we'll go ahead and talk about how to create them.